I'll do the drum roll now. He starts off on the first slide, and then when he has completed his section, Stacy, who we all just learned about and talked about, Stacy's going to be doing a section as well, and then I get to do the wind up at the end. So, Dr. Fitz, please take it away.
Much, Catherine. We put together some slides to kind of tell the story of how we arrived here, and that we really looked at it through several lenses.
Dr. Fitz, could you put the microphone closer
Yes.
to you? Thank you.
We looked at it through several lenses, and some of those lenses, like we said, let's look at the past, let's look at the present, and let's look at the future, because it's going to kind of guide us in terms of what we're trying to do now as we move into the future. So let's just roll through some of the slides here. I'm not going to talk about them. They're going to kind of speak for themselves so that we don't lose a lot of time in making this presentation. So who's running the slides for me? Okay, move on to slide 2.
You're there.
Okay, there, okay. Done. Let's look at process, look at people who, what I call central office, or the executive team. And this executive team helps guide this school district tremendously. I'd like to say congratulations to Stacy also. I often refer to her as the Moses for the district. She leads us through troubling times in terms of staying focused on our curriculum. Slide 3. Okay, you look at our mission, which you all are familiar with, and we're staying focused on that mission, and that budget is built around keeping us focused on what we are to do and when we are to do it. Next slide. Okay, our goal in about 4 areas up there: learning, teaching, culture, governance, and community. Next slide. It's a nice slide, kind of tells you about what the future depends on. We've got to look at that. We got to stay focused. Next slide. Yeah. Okay. Right. Each time I walk by this building, I just get goosebumps. And I look at it in terms of 1854, something like that. And I just kind of think about what was going on in the heads of the founding fathers and the founding mothers of this community. I believe that they were concerned about high quality education for those kids. I really believe that. And I think they had some serious discussion. But I think what they did, they left footprints for us. And our footprint is to make sure that we continue that. So what you're going to see this afternoon is the continuation of a budget to support high quality education for the youngsters in the school district. Next slide. All right. Well, that's some of our stats. Tells you about the number of kids, the number of buildings that we have here. Buildings, we've got to give some attention to them. And so we put some money in the budget to address some of those concerns. We got to deal with air quality, ventilation, equal distribution of heat and coolness. So we're making repairs to accommodate that, but that's going to be an ongoing process. It's not going to end this year because your buildings are of advanced age. And we have a high school that's a castle. And it takes a lot of money to maintain a castle. So it's not the end, it's the beginning. Next slide. Okay. Oh, this is a slide that should allow you to brag. It's your bragging rights. It tells you where you rank. And we've talked about this, that we're going to talk to niche and we're going to see if they are missing something. But what we've got to do is we've got to stay where we are and go up. Now, it's harder to go up when the space is small. You can get from the bottom faster than you can make growth from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2. So you got to be focused and you got to stick to the task. Next slide. Okay. Now, it's the continuation of bragging. You're doing a great job with the kids. You got to look at these stats next year and see, did any erosion take place? And you got to have a plan to overcome and to rebuild. So we're going to have to put some resources to assist with these unique populations in the school, in the district. You have about 3 little populations. You got a group of kids that's going to do well no matter what. You're going to have a group of kids who would like to do well, but they need support and a lot of assistance. Then we got another population of kids who are youngsters with special needs that we have to take care of. So we got to take care of all of those populations in our district, and our budget is reflected of addressing those needs. Next. Okay. All right. I think this is a slide that kind of tells us about participation. Participations of alumni, very strong in this community. We must continue to grow it and to expand it. And we must look for partnerships. I think that this is a nice community with beautiful industries. We should be building larger partnerships with them. And so that we can have places for our kids to work after they come back, return from colleges, or before they even go to college. I should be getting next to my last slide, right?
You tell us, Stacy.
Okay, next. Okay. Here we are. We're still in the bragging area, talking about all the great things that you've accomplished, and we've got to continue to support those. We can't allow them to drop off our budget. Next. Okay. That's a continuation of how proud we are and how our children are really making us look good. Next. Okay. Sports program. We have a great sports program, but I still think that there's some room to grow. Because this is an international community, we need to maybe think about looking at sports that's reflective of this international community. Because there's a sport in every group population. And think about if we started some of those sports down in the elementary school, don't worry about trying to start them in competitions, but just let's introduce them and we'll grow it to a competitive process. I think that this community is ripe for preparing kids for the Olympics. The terrain is excellent here for cycling. I know the streets are not wide enough, but maybe we could think about how to overcome some of those conditions as we prepare, as we give our kids new opportunities for the big world out here. Okay, next slide.
This one is where I pick up right now.
Pardon me?
I just wanted to talk a little bit about what is in the budget that supports professional development and how it aligns with what has been our district goals. So there is money for professional development set aside in the budget that will go to a continuation of diversity, equity, and inclusion training. In particular, just as an example, we're working closely with NJCIE to advance more inclusion at the elementary level and develop partnerships between general ed and special education classroom teachers. We continue to send our teachers to Conquer Math training, which we have been very pleased with really the way that Nancy Schultz, who leads Conquer Math, has been training our teachers in math instruction. We continue our commitment to multisensory reading training for all of our new staff so that when they come in, they do go for that intensive training so they can pick right up on some of the multisensory reading techniques and the word study program that's part of our reading curriculum. We are also continuing to build our summer professional development program. Some of that will be multi-day institutes where we will pay teachers to come in. In addition, we will also be hiring some outside consultants whose areas of expertise align with our goals. And some of that also will still be funded with ESSER money that's left in the educator support grant. So we're really happy to have that money for one more summer. As is our typical practice, we set aside money for teachers to attend AP Summer Institutes. Should we have teachers who have not taught AP before or need to, or are looking to really refresh their skills in AP. We also have funds set aside for school and department-based professional development days based on department and grade level needs. Some of that can also be, subject specific, as we see here with professional conferences. Our teachers continue to attend and really keep their skills sharp in their content areas and in their pedagogy. And we also continue to support our 4-year new teacher induction program. That, I have great help from the supervisors and administrators on that. And really this ensures that as teachers come into our district, they are, acclimated to our expectations and to what we value as a school community. In addition, this budget supports an ongoing commitment to innovative academic programs. We began American Humanities 1 last year at the high school level, which is English and social studies. So to keep that cohort of students together and to continue that, we will be creating American Humanities 2. And we're also very excited about a new science interdisciplinary program that is being built that is going to have an engineering component. That's being called the EPIC program. And we have made a commitment to start to build that program out in interdisciplinary fashion, similar to RAP, but it's going to take us a couple of years to get there by partnering some engineering courses with science courses, looking for outside internships and, partners to really help our students have some engineering experiences. We are excited also to be adding American Sign Language 2. We brought in American Sign Language last year. It's very popular. So we're fortunate that we're going to start to add another level to that program so students can continue their ASL experience. We're adding 2 new courses in the arts. One is fashion design that has been requested, pretty much by our students, something they've been asking for quite some time. And similar to our program with music mentors, we are also going to be offering students the opportunity to be art mentors next year at the high school. In the middle school, we are going to expand Soundology 1 into Soundology 2. We're really looking also at exploring options to bring the middle school recording studios up to be similar to one another, and so that they can also serve as a nice feeder into the high school recording studio program for TV and music and audio recording. So we're offering that also as a new middle school course, and that is also supported in this budget. We also continue to invest in instructional resources. Some of these were presented in front of the board curriculum committee at the end of April. Our K-5 guidance counselors have done a fantastic job this year of exploring new social emotional learning programs. Open Circle, which we have used for years, has been phased out, needs an update. So they have worked really hard this year to narrow down the program choices. We will be purchasing world language resources as that program takes place. We will be having 3 new teachers at the elementary level, and they will need resources to be able to deliver instruction in world language. And we've also made a commitment to the integration of decodable texts for our reading curriculum at grades K1 and some of 2. At the middle school, we continue to expand our DEI text and classroom libraries. We're purchasing some math software. You see Spanish Descubre, both in 6-8 and 9-12. That license is expiring, and our teachers would like to continue with that program, but that needs a renewal. Some music method books, and then 9-12 underneath, you can also see books that are related to the new courses in addition to an expansion of resources and other programs where our supervisors have identified specific needs. So all of these instructional resources are also supported in the 23-24 budget.
Okay, now for the budget end of it. You've just heard a lot about the visions that the district has had. And all of that, along with curriculum changes and resources for teachers and students, the board collaborates with curriculum and the superintendent to develop board goals and the strategic plan. And the job of developing an effective and efficient budget is to provide the tools or the funding and the resources to make those goals and plans happen. And how do we do that? We provide necessary funding for district staff, funding for improving instruction. We try to address school safety, staying within the New Jersey budget guidelines, which can be a challenge sometimes. We maintain a fiscally responsible budget, and we set aside funds for the future, which is also important, particularly as Dr. Fitz mentioned earlier, for some of our buildings, which have been around for quite a long time. Before I go to the next page, which is a budget at a glance. Sorry, I just lost my audio there. I want to talk a little bit about the process this year. For those of us who have been following our process, good time for this to be intermittent. That happened to me once. Okay, hopefully this one's a little more stable. So you know that the board, the process for the budget got interrupted a little bit temporarily, and the preliminary budget was submitted. Yes, all revenues equaled all appropriations, but we had time over the last 8 weeks to refine that and cultivate it for a final budget. So there's a bit of a difference between the advertised budget that we were required to post in the paper as of last week, and the final budget that's going to be presented to you tonight. The advertised budget was a 3.11% tax increase, and the budget we're presenting tonight, I'll go to the next slide as a budget at a glance, is going to be a 2% general fund levy tax increase. So you can see that we have a $103.2 million general fund levy, a $2.6 million debt service levy, and an overall total tax levy for the school system of $105.8 million. And what that represents is an increase in a total budget spending of 3.69%. I already mentioned it's a general fund levy of 2%, and we have a total tax levy increase of 1.09%. Now, speaking to some of those achievements that the Ridgewood School District did, I just want to point out for a moment, if we can, okay, let's see if we can get the pointer working. I guess we're not going to have a pointer. Okay. I'm not sure what I did. Okay, so here we go. So many of you are accustomed to looking at the comparative spending guide, which comes out every year, and it includes the last fully closed year of school budgets, and our last fully closed year would have been June 30th of 2022. And these numbers come from all across the state. So if we take a quick look down my favorite column, budgetary per pupil costs, we see we've got a number of districts in the $30,000 range per pupil, 24,000, 21. That gives us Saddle River, Franklin Lakes, Teaneck. Just to switch to an additional page on this, we're still following down the last year, 20,000 per pupil. Now let's just go down to the state average here, and you have $18,208 per pupil. Here's Ridgewood at $15,700 per pupil. So you can see that when we say we're trying to be fiscally efficient, we actually do achieve that. And that will be updated this year when 2023 school year closes. Now, this is just an overview of key appropriations. Some of the things I would like to bring particular attention to is here we have the total tuition. That's tuition we pay for out-of-district school. Now, that's both regular and special education. And that's gone up 10.71% in our projections. Take a look here on the health benefits line, or actually that's all benefits, and that's at 10.24%. We experienced a 12% health benefit increase this January, and a 15% increase is projected for next January, just health benefits alone. So that gives you an idea of what is going on there. Now, let's go to revenues. In the revenues, the particular lines I'd like to talk about, one, which is not discussed a lot. Actually, let's leave that to last. I'm going to go down to the capital reserve. Last year, there was funding by withdrawing from our capital reserves and putting $529,000 into the budget for capital projects. What we're doing in the coming school year, 23-24, is we will be withdrawing from capital reserve $1.8 million and doing some more projects this year. We'll also be withdrawing from maintenance reserve and contributing from the reserves $1.5 million toward required maintenance activities within the school district, and $500,000 from the emergency reserve, which will help to mitigate the astronomical increases we've seen on the health benefits so far. And these are some of the remaining revenues. We have funding for all of our federal resources, grants, and entitlements. Generally, we budget about the same as we received in the prior year. It's very consistent, and we don't anticipate any significant changes in that area. So we were talking about reserves a moment ago, and just so you know, our capital reserve balance as of June 30th, 2023, and this is in the annual school district audit, we had $3.2 million in capital reserve. The emergency reserve, we had $1 million as of the close of last year. And for maintenance reserve, we had a very healthy $5.2 million in order to use for funding. Now, what that allowed us, I mentioned earlier, for next year's budget, we're taking $1.8 million to fund projects for next year. So that will bring this balance down to $1.4 million remaining after we've removed that money for the subsequent year's budget. We're going to be withdrawing $500,000 to mitigate the health benefit costs. So that will leave a remainder of $500,000 in the emergency reserve at June 30th, 23. And then from the maintenance reserve, we were withdrawing $1.5 million to support the required maintenance lines. And so that's going to leave us about $3.7 million in reserves as of June 30th of this year. So taxes, this screen will tell you anything and everything you want to know about taxes. So let's start with the general fund tax. And this is the tax numbers only. We'll get to percents in a minute. Our general fund tax, as we covered in the overview, is $103 million. The debt service tax is $2.5 million, and the total school budget is going to be $105 million. So that's the tax numbers. Now let's talk about how this computes to a rate. The municipal net valuation for this year is $5.9 million. Last year it was $5.8 million. So that's gone up by $42,000, and that's for the municipality.
Billion.
I'm sorry. Yes. No, it's gone up 42 million. Yes, you're right. Sorry. Okay, where was I? General fund tax. Okay, so the general fund tax per 100,000 of assessed value on your home is $1,745. So you take your home value, you divide it by 100,000 and multiply it by the 1,745. That will give you your actual projected tax levy. The change over the prior year is $21.73, or a net increase of 1.26%. So let's get down to one number that people always look for. The average assessed home value in Ridgewood this year, and this comes from the municipal government, is $707,500. And using the tax rate that we just discussed, that would be realized as a $12,350 school tax. School tax, not the entire tax on the property. So that gives a pretty good summary. Included in the operating budget, we have a lease purchase. The operating budget for IT is $823,000. And what supports that is a $940,000 lease purchase, and that's embedded in the appropriations. Now, we talked a moment about capital projects for next year. The 4 capital projects that 1.8 million will support is the high school science wing roof replacement, and that's at 1.2 million. We have the high school wood shop dust collection system, and that will be at 400,000. We have the high school STEM lab ventilation revamping, and that's at a projected cost of 204,000. And the Orchard School stair remediation, which is going to come in at around $66,000. Now let's refer back to the staffing needs. Stacy spoke about that a little while ago, and this is how additional monies are being spent on the staffing that she addressed, and that comes to $951,000. And by the way, this estimate includes the cost of benefits. Now let's talk about planning for the future. The board has also reviewed and analyzed various capital projects and has aligned 4 additional projects beyond next budget year that we just talked about a little while ago. And ROD grants have been submitted for all 4 of these. And 2 of them are window replacements at Glen School and Ridge School. Glen comes in at 1.9 million as an estimated cost, and Ridge comes in at 2.3 million for an estimated cost. Also mechanical projects, which that costs a little more. That's a more in-depth project, and it has a lot more mechanical and heavy machinery information that has to be purchased. That's 4.1 million and 5.5 million. So the total of these projects that have already been compiled and ROD grants submitted is 14 million, and that's for future facility needs. So that would be the year 2024 and beyond. And that's it. That's basically how the budget is making an effort to address all of the goals and the plans and the strategies that have been put forth by the board and the superintendent. Thank you.
Mr. Davenport, I want to just thank you. The public may not see, but you put in a lot of time and effort behind the scenes. So thank you for all your work. I think we went through multiple iterations to get here. So thank you for working with everybody and getting your hands around everything so quickly.